Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Morris Talk Live 100. I'm your host, Tarhaka Amana LB, and tonight our special guest will be Dr. Walter Williams. The subject this evening will be part 2, the myth of the Prophet Mohammud exposed. We'll be dealing with the following questions and much, much more. When did the Prophet Muhammad exist in our ancient story? Where did the story about Muhammad come from in the first place? Who put such a story out and why? These are just a few of the things that we're going to deal with here this evening, and I guess he'll be coming in, but in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get some of these commercials on out of the way, and that'll give you plenty of time to get you a paper and pencil handy, okay? All right, let's roll. Hello, everyone. Things are changing rapidly in our world today. This is the greatest time and point in history to get yourself free from debt and change your status in commerce by moving out of the public and into the private. Being a secured party and creditor is some of what you need to know. Join our mailing list by leaving your email address in the Join Our Mailing List box at tarhakadataelimination.org. Mortgage, student loan, credit card, IRS, private banking is also some of what you need to know how to achieve. tarhakadataelimination.org. Don't forget, the greatest focal point in your life is when preparedness and opportunity meet. tarhakadataelimination.org. Now is the time. Right now. Get out. Hello, everybody. I want to introduce you to The Great Debate by Dr. Walter Williams. He single-handedly laid out the facts in this powerful debate against Mr. Munir Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, Chester Blair, a prominent lawyer in Chicago, Illinois, and Reverend Henry Hardy, a prominent minister in Chicago, and Prince Azio bin Israel of the Hebrew Israelites. This debate was hosted by a retired policeman named W.L. Lillard. Now, the whole thing was a setup by Lillard and his gang, but it didn't work. They brought what they believed to the table, but Dr. Walter Williams brought what he knew for a fact and what he could prove and laid it on the table. We are now in the age of knowing. The age of walking around believing in stuff is over. For your copy of The Great Debate, go to tarhakadataelimination.org. That's tarhakadataelimination.org, or contact me by phone. My number's on the website. Oh, and by the way, the lawyer got bust up too. The Great Debate. Get your copy today. Good day and peace. Hello, everybody. This is Tarhaka again. This is a reminder of the remedies available to you in this country. A private man or woman can live a debt-free life if you choose, and that includes private banking. The use of your proper status in commerce is a fantastic tool to use. Request my free report at tarhakadataelimination.org. Instead of setting up a will that'll probably end up in probate, why don't you set up your private trust? Exercise your secured party and creditor status. Contact me at my website and set yourself free. That's tarhakadataelimination.org. tarhakadataelimination.org. Get out of debt. Now is the time for you to set yourself free. Peace. Everybody, we're back. It appears that my guest is in the queue, and I want to start off by saying tonight's broadcast is happening October the 30th, 2022, right here on Morris Talk Live 100. Our special guest tonight will be Dr. Walter Williams, author of The Historical Origins of Christianity, and also the author of The Historical Origins of Islam. And these are his two books. He have another book will be coming out later on. He can explain all that to you. But I'm going to bring him in so he can give us a little rundown for all the new people that's hitting the switchboard tonight. Let's let Dr. Walter Williams explain a little bit to you about the Great Debate. Give you a little highlights on that so we'll know what's going on. But anyway, let me bring my guest in. Area code 773, you're on the air.
Yes, Brother Tarhaka, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You come across crisp, loud, and clear, my brother.
Beautiful.
Appreciate you being here, man.
Well, I appreciate you for inviting me. Thank you very much. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. So I have to give you credit for that, and I thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Dr. Williams, you want to, for the new people, because the switchboard stayed lighting up over here, you want to give us, the people, a little bit of information about you and tell us something about that Great Debate, man.
Well, the Great Debate is it's becoming a classic. Let me explain to you a little bit more about the Great Debate so you can understand what I'm talking about. The Great Debate took place in the year 1993 here in Chicago, Illinois, at a television studio. That studio was owned by W.L. Lillard, who produced The Great Debate. And what happened was that at that same year, my book came out, The Historical Origin of Christianity, whereby the thesis of the book is saying that there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. Well, that threw the whole African community up in arms. So I had to be stopped. You know, I had to be defeated. Who is this guy? Never heard of Walter Williams. Who is he anyway, coming out with these strong statements like that? So what he did, W.L. Lillard did, was he set up a trap for me. He invited me to come to his television studio for an interview. And when I got there, there were 4 people there that he had lined up to debate me, including himself. He was the 5th person. And that same year, 1993, I was saying that Africans born in the United States of America are not citizens of the United States of America, thereby cannot become citizens because of the Constitution. So he had a lawyer there by the name of Chester L. Blair to dispute what I was saying, because, you know, as you know, all lawyers when they become a lawyer and try to pass the bar, you have to take an oath based on the Constitution. So in other words, you got to defend that Constitution. So he was there to defend the Constitution against me. So now, mind you, this is a surprise to me. 1993. So now, here I am in this television studio with the cameras on me, and the people that took part of the debate was Prince Asiel Ben Israel, who died about 3 weeks ago here in Chicago, and then he was representing the Black Hebrew Israelites. And then the second person that he had there was Henry Hardy, who was a religious Christian pastor of a large Christian church right here in Chicago. And then the third person he had on there was Mohammed, who died some 3 or 4 years ago. He was on there. He represented the Nation of Islam, the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. And then, like I said, this lawyer, Chester L. Blair, who's defending the Constitution. And then, of course, himself. So that was the great debate. And it is a collector's item now. I would urge anybody in the listening audience to purchase a copy of this tape, because there's a lot of information being disseminated that you will not hear no place on earth. So I urge you to get that tape. And Brother Tarhaka, how can they order that tape?
Well, in order to get the great debate, you have to contact me. And you go over there to my website at tarhakadebtelimination.org. And my phone number is right there. Give me a call. And or you can send me an email. You put your information in there, but the best thing to do is give me a call and let me know what you're going to do, and I'll go ahead and send you the link, and you in there. But just contact me at tarhakadebtelimination.org, and my number's there, and or if you want to send me an email, you can do that from there as well.
Tell them how much it is, Brother Tarhaka.
The great debate is $29.95. I'm gonna get that. It's $29.95. Nothing's changed. All is consistent, and it's right there. And all you gotta do is contact me. We'll get it straight over there to you. Dr. Williams, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just, you have anything else you want to add before we go down into the broadcast?
Well, I was saying that if you get that Great Debate tape, you will have a collector's item. Of course, it will be 30 years old next year. Well, next year is right here at us. So it'll be 30 years old. It'll be a collector's item. And it's information on that Great Debate that is very enlightening, and you will never regret that you bought the tape. So that's what I had to say.
Okay, fantastic. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we will be opening up the phone lines later on in the broadcast, and the number to dial into the show is 515-605-9757. That's 515-605-9757. And if you have something to say to my guest, if you have a comment or a question, you press 1 on your phone, and that gives me an indication that you have something to say. We're going to be opening up the phone lines later on in the broadcast. Now, this evening, we want to answer the questions. When did the Prophet Muhammad exist in our ancient story? Where did the story about Muhammad come from in the first place? And who put such a story out, and why did they do that? And so, Dr. Williams, without further ado, if you would go ahead and let us know what you got, man, and tell us about this thing, about the myth of the Prophet Muhammad exposed. You have the floor.
Okay, well, the beginning of this story of the Prophet Muhammad starts with Ibn al-Arabi. Ibn al-Arabi was born in Spain in 1165. He was a Moor. He was a member of a Moorish family there in Spain in 1165. And as he grew up, he was under the tutelage of a teacher, 91 years old, Fatima el-Bint. She taught him and tutored him until he became an adult. And during his adulthood, he began to teach, write poetry. He was a clairvoyant, and he wrote 2 books. And those 2 books are Al-Fatent and Ibn al-Fatuhad. Ibn al-Fatuhad and Ibn al-Bint. Those are his 2 books. So, but now he began, when he left Spain, he came into Egypt, into northeast Africa, known today as the Middle East. And he began to teach, and he gathered a large following there in and around Egypt. And he died in 1240. But a year before he died, his students began to spread his teachings around Egypt during that time. And this is in 1139. And again, he died in 1240. 1239. He died in 1240. And the Ottoman Turks, who were in power at that time, took up his teaching. In other words, enforced his teaching on the people under their dominance. So in 1300, the Ottoman Turks took a sword to all of the people under their charge and told them and asked them, Muhammad or die. In other words, you accept Muhammad or you're going to die. Okay, and this is in 1300. So that's the base foundation of how you get today's Islam. Now, that went on until 1870. That's another historical event. I'll take you in that section of why there was no Muhammad. In 1870, the AIU, the Alliance Israelite Universal of Paris, France, sent a group of scholars into Syria to create literature for the Mohammedan world. Now, mind you, the Mohammedan world did not have any literature. However, in 1870, you had the Old Testament, the Pentateuch. You had Psalms from the Jewish form of writing, and then you had the four Gospels, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. All that's interspersed in today's Quran. So that's how today's Quran was used and created there in Syria in 1870, and it was not accepted until after World War I was over. World War I was 1914 1918. So in 1919, in Cairo, Egypt, the Holy Quran, as we know it today, was accepted. Now, the reason why the AIU wanted to send their scholars into Syria to create literature for the Mohammedan world was because they wanted to make sure that Abraham was part of that literature. Because, see, today as I speak, Abraham is in all three major Western religions, all three of them. And it includes Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. So they made sure that Abraham got in to this new religion called Islam. See, Islam today, as I speak, is a religion based upon a book called the Quran. So, interspersed in today's Quran, you'll find the Pentateuch Psalms, you'll find the four Christian Gospels, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. All that's interspersed in today's Quran. So they wanted to make sure that they had control and an input in the creation of that Quran. So that was done. And in 1919, the book that we know today as the Quran and the religion that we know today as Islam came into bloom. Now, World War I came to an end by the British defeating the Germans who were helping the Ottoman Turks over in that region of the world to build railroads and etc. over there. So they wanted to break that up. So they went over and they defeated the Ottoman Turks in 1918 in the World War I. And that defeat brought about the making of and the coming of what we know today as Islam. Islam, like I said before, is based upon a book called the Holy Quran. Now, in 1924, the British appointed a king of Arabia, and That king was named Abdul Aziz al-Saud. In 1924, the British appointed him king of Arabia. And in 1926, after being appointed the king of Arabia, he called the first meeting in Islam's history. Now, if you get my book, The Historical Origin of Islam, on page 69, I'll give you the first meeting in Islam's history, plus I'll give you all the minutes of that meeting. So I'm not trying to sell you a book, but if you want to further understand what I'm talking about, get my book, The Historical Origin of Islam, and on page 69, I'll give you all the minutes to that meeting. And that was the first Hajj ever taken place in Islam's history. So the Ottoman Turks and AIU, the Alliance Israelite Universal Paris, France, had a hand in shaping what we know today as today's Islam and the Quran. Okay? Now, I'm going to take you to another part. First place, the question has to be asked: has anyone on earth, walking this earth, and you got 8 billion humans walking this earth, in human form of all race, creed, and color, have any human on this earth ever seen Muhammad, ever seen a picture of Muhammad? The answer is no. So now, how do you know that there's a Muhammad? So that's number one. Question number one. If you go to the Shorter Encyclopedia of Islam, they will tell you on page 390 that they have no biography for a Prophet Muhammad. There's no biography for a Prophet Muhammad. Okay? And on that same page 390, they'll tell you on that same page that they have no evidence of a Muhammad ever being in Mecca. They had no evidence of that. You see? So you have to take all that into consideration and put that into your study of Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. Now, let me take you to another section. In Munster, Germany, an article came out in the Wall Street Journal about 2003. And the article from the Wall Street Journal. It says that Munster, the Munster University in Munster, Germany, it's a Munster institution there and university. They built a Islamic center there on the campus of the University of Munster in Munster, Germany. And they hired a teacher, a Muslim teacher, an Islamic teacher, to teach at that center there. But here's what happened. His name was Mohammed Sabin Galish, who went to the president of the Munster Institution there in Munster, Germany, and told those people who ran the institution that he could not teach Islam. And they asked him why. He said, well, from my further studies, I found that in my further studies, there is no Muhammad. You see? So these things that you have to take in consideration. So here now today, you got the Prophet Mohammed. So I've given you a sort of a short rundown and on why there is no Prophet Muhammad is a myth. And don't be confused by a Saracen Moor or Arab that's been put into the mix over in Syria. They said that Saracen Moors came in 711 and brought Islam. Well, Islam did not exist in 711, and that they defeated the Arabs over there in Syria, and they also defeated the people that lived in that area, lived in Spain, and they fought and taught and brought Islam in 711. That's not true. So therefore, don't be confused by no Saracen Arab. They never existed. So that's about the history and some origin information about Muhammad not existing. So I was trying to follow a timeline to give you the understanding as to why and how and when. Give you those information. Sometimes I had a stumble a little bit, but hey, I'm 91 years old, and sometimes you have a senior moment. So forgive me for that, Brother Tarhaka.
Okay, Dr. Williams, I think you did a fantastic job. Don't seem like you're stumbling to me. Seems like you still on point about what you know that you know that you know you know. I have a question for you now. You mentioned that's when they had their first Hajj. Can you tell us what a Hajj is? Could you break that down for us so we can know what you're talking about when you say Hajj?
Well, they had their first Hajj. I mean, they had their first meeting. Hajj is based off of the religious ideology of Islam. So they had their first meeting. So with their first meeting came their first Hajj. In other words, they have a Hajj there every year, I believe. The Muslims they all come to Mecca to have their Hajj, and the Hajj is to practice, to throw out their negative vibes, and to throw out everything that's not pure and stuff like that, see. But that's the beginning of the Hajj right there. So that's what I consider a Hajj, meaning that they had come there to meet and to elect the imam to be head of this new religion, et cetera, and they was invited to what we know today as Mecca, and there they met and had their first Hajj, which was a form of meeting and election of an imam who's going to be the head of their Islamic ideology. Brother Tarhaka.
Okay. All right. Now, we know when it comes to the Bible, we are supposed to have 66 books in that Bible. And there's another book called the Apocrypha, and it's supposed to be 88 books over there. What's going on with that?
Well, during the time of the making of the creation of the Bible, that you had a whole lot of people out there writing so-called religious ideology, and they were apocryphal writers. The word apocryphal means books of unknown authorship. So you had all these people out there writing something on the Bible, and et cetera. But then the organizers of the Bible and the real creators of the Bible rejected all those apocryphal writers, only took some. In other words, you got in the Old Testament, you got I believe it's 39 books of the Old Testament, right? Well, now within those 39 books, you got apocryphal writers in there that contributed, that was accepted by the makers of the Bible, who created the Bible in the first place. You see, and then in the New Testament, you got 28 books or 27 books of the Old Testament. I mean, of the New Testament, and you only got 9 books of those 28 books that could be attested to who wrote those first 9 books, was Desiderius Erasmus. And the other 18 books are of apocryphal writers. Apocryphal means books of unknown authorship or spurious writers. So you're not going to ever know about who wrote the apocryphal writers connected to these different Bibles. So that would be my answer to you.
Okay. Now, we know Christianity came first. So, and it is a religion, and all religions have, first of all, they have the concept of God. Then you have to believe in it. And then after that, we have literature attached to that particular religion, regardless of what it is. And then we have the thing where if you don't or refuse to believe in that, then you have to live under the threat of going to hell, some place like that, a fear attached to these religions. So does the Quran, Mohammedanism, do they have the same ingredients?
You have the same ingredients in all religions, all of them. I say that all religions have side effects, all of them. And the 4 side effects are: 1, confusion. The human being who embraces a religion is confused. They don't know who he or she is as a human being. There's confusion there. That's the first thing a human being needs to know, is something about their own personal humanity. But religion steals that away from you. It destroys that knowledge away from you. So the first side effect is confusion. The second side effect is that religion limits your thinking. Because religions are made for one to believe in. And that's the glue that keeps all religions together, is belief. So that second side effect is for you to believe. And once you believe, you put yourself in bondage, and you put yourself in incarcerate your mind to yourself. And then the third side effect it's animation. In other words, an Easter time they tell you that Jesus died on the cross and that he carried the cross to Calvary. So your imagination kicks in to that, see? And you can see this Jesus carrying his cross on Mount Calvary to be crucified. And the fourth side effect is fear. If you don't believe that the Lord Jesus Christ, you're going to die and go to hell. So that's part of the fear tactics that they get all people who believe in these various religions to believe in these various religions. So that's my answer to you, Brother Tarhaka.
Okay, all right. Now, about this book called the Book of Enoch. What about that?
The book of what?
The Book of Enoch.
Enoch?
Yeah.
The book of Enoch.
Yes, sir.
That's another apocryphal. That's another book in the Bible. Okay, that's an accepted book in the Bible. But like I said before, it's all based off of apocryphal writing and apocryphal writings. And the word apocryphal again means books of unknown authorship. So that's one of the books that they accepted to go into today's Bible, the book of Enoch. Enoch.
Okay, so when it comes to the Quran, that was we have unknown authorship. We don't have nobody we can point to as a writer of the Quran.
Well, the only group that you have writing the Quran was the AIU, Alliance Israelite Universal Parish France, which they did in 1870 in Syria. They formulated this Bible, this Quran for the Mohammedan world. And the reason why they did it, they wanted to put Abraham in that into today's Quran, to make it correspond with the other two religions with Abraham in it. Christianity got Abraham in it, and Judaism got Abraham in it. So now you got the Holy Quran being created by the AIU. They put Abraham in it. So to keep the lie going and strengthen the lie, and the people who believe in the lie, that would be my answer to you.
Okay, now, if these people went through these lengths, great lengths to do this, do you think that there would be another reason why they would be doing this is to include someone into a narrative that was previously excluded? Do you think some of that was going on?
Repeat. Let me understand your question. Repeat it again.
Okay, what I'm saying is, do you think another one of the reasons why that these writings were created was to include someone into something that had previously not included them as a people? What I'm looking at is maybe a particular group of people to be included in something that they was never included in. Do you think that's part of the reason?
What people are you talking about? You have to tell me the people that you're talking about.
Okay, well, I'm not sure. Let's say, okay, we have people that was, I think it was in, I don't have my map with me right now, but they are being regarded as Jews today. And
okay,
so,
well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
There's no such thing as a Jew. Okay? Now, in 2006, a teacher who teaches at the illegal state of Israel at the University wrote a book.
Sound like you're breaking up. Sound like you're breaking up, Dr. Williams.
Okay, let me go back. There's no such thing as a Jew or a Jewish people. That's the biblical. And the reason why I'm saying that is that there's a teacher who teaches at the Tel Aviv University in the illegal state of Israel, 2006. It is called The Invention of the Jewish People. The invention now. His name was Shlomo Sand. S-L-O-M-O-S-A-N-D. Shlomo Sand. So in 2006, he wrote this book, The Invention of the Jewish People. There's no such thing as a Jewish people. That's part of the creation and the man-made religion. Okay? Again, man-made religions are designed and written to control your thinking. So that would be my answer to you, brother. Brother Tarhaka?
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. We have a caller with his hand raised at area code 347. Let me open up the line.
Okay.
Area code 347. Come on in.
How you doing? It's Shaheem Jones.
All right, Mr. Jones. Where you calling us from?
Calling from New York City, Brooklyn.
All right. What's your question or comment for our guest?
All right. Could I get 3 quick questions?
One at a time. One at a time.
All right. No problem. No problem. So my first question is, where was the first mosque, and who created the first mosque?
Okay. The first mosque, if you get my book, The Historical Origin of Islam, and you look on the front cover of that book, you'll see a picture of the Church of Hagia Sophia that was created in 532 and finished December 27, 537. And you also, next to that church, called the Church of Hagia Sophia, you see 3
Dr. Williams, you seem to be going in and out. Your voice is going in and out.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Did you understand what I was saying?
You said the Hagia Sophia was the first mosque, and that was when Maymon II bust open and took it over?
I can't. Wait a minute. You want me to? You understand what I said? You want me to go back over it again?
No, I understand what you said.
Okay. So now, that's the first known mosque on planet Earth. Okay.
All right.
First one.
What's your second question?
Hello. Let me talk.
Yeah. You're going in and out, Dr. Williams.
Okay. Am I going in and out now?
Not right now.
Huh?
No, you're not. All right. So my second question is, when?
Hello. Wait. You understand the information I gave you?
Yes, you said the first mosque was the Hagia Sophia that was built in 532, you said?
532, finished March, December 27, 537.
December the 27th, the 37th.
It was built 532 and finished December the 27th, 537, built by African scholars, African architects, and African builders. Ancient Egyptians.
All right. I understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay. All right,
All
what's
right.
your
My second question is, why did they turn Brahmin into Allah?
Why they say what now?
Why did they turn Ramen into Allah?
Who is Raman?
Ain't that what they Ramen was supposed to be one of they gods first before Allah?
Well, see, Allah came with the religion that's, called Islam, based off of the Quran that I mentioned to you, created by the AIU, Israel Universal Plan, in 1870. That comes with the Quran.
Oh, I thought that's how they get a Ramadan.
All that Ramadan came out of Muhammad. That's part of Mohammedanism. See, you had Mohammedanism before you had
Before
the
Quran.
Oh, you had Mohammedanism, the creation of the Quran. Done.
All right.
When they,
Right.
Mohammedanism was the creation of the Quran.
Dr. Williams, you're breaking up real bad, man.
I don't know what's going on, man.
All right, well, I tell you what, this is what we're going to do. Y'all hold on, brother. Don't go nowhere. Just hold
All
on.
Right.
And I'm going to mute your mics. And I'm going to run a plug, and then I'm going to come back. If you all, let's make sure your phone is charged up and stuff and all of that good stuff. And we will be right back. So y'all just sit back for a we're back. I'm going to go back and open up the phone lines, and we're going to see if the audio gotten any better. Dr. Williams, are you with me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Let me open up the other brother's line. Okay, brother, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
All right. Dr. Williams, you want to finish answering his second question? So he had 3 questions, so we're on the second one.
Okay, now, this is the first question.
You're breaking up, man.
Are you satisfied with the answer I gave?
All right, yeah, the first question you said that Hazard Sophia was the first month, correct?
Caller.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but there's something going on there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you a little bit. You're still coming in and out, but I can hear you.
There's something wrong here. I hear some muttering back there in this phone. Is it phone?
Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you, but can you hear me? That's the idea. I can hear you.
I could hear you a little bit, but it sounds like stuff is in a. Maybe I should call out and then call back in.
Well, you can do that.
Yeah.
All right, let me do
Dr.
that.
Williams, let him do that, and Dr. Williams, you do the same thing, man, and let's see if that'll help.
Yeah,
I'm gonna mute your mic. Y'all go ahead and call back in. I'm gonna mute your mics, and we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all just hold on a minute. We're working on a few little things here. So y'all hold on a minute. We'll be right back. Okay, everybody, we're back. I'm going to open up my guest line at area code 347. Come on in, Dr. Williams. The other young man, he hasn't dialed back into the broadcast yet. I don't see his hand raised. But anyway, what I've been doing lately, wait a minute, let me see. We got a caller with 773. Let me open that up and see what we got. Dr. Williams.
Yes. Can
All
you
right.
hear me?
We got 34. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you good. We got a call at 347.
Can you hear me?
Where's the last?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
This is
okay. Let us continue then.
Okay, young man.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Now, did I clear up the first answer?
Yes, you did.
Okay. What's the second question?
All right, so disregard the second question. I'm going to go straight to the third one. So my third question is, with the Coptic Egyptians, after the Hagia Sophia got transferred to Italy, what happened to the Coptic Egyptians?
What happened to the Coptic Egyptians?
Yes.
In what way? How do you mean? Give me a clear...
All right, so you see how they got the African Coptic community? When John the Eighth moved it to Rome, did the Coptic Egyptians go with them when they went to Rome?
No.
You said no?
No. When they went to Rome, you had that released in 1439 by John the Eighth into Italy. He went to the Curia in Florence, Italy. The word Curia means college. The Curia in Ferrara, Italy. And you had 6 humans from each Curia to receive the seed of Christianity. And they had 12 men who were intellectual to receive the seed of Christianity. And they went to Roman authorities to ask for land area where they can build the second seat of Christianity.
The Vatican, right?
Well, yes, but I'm telling you now, the authorities in Rome allotted them land on the outskirts of Rome near the catacombs to build this church. And that church was built in 1445 by the Moors. The Moors were asked by Spain to come in to build that church because they, at that time, this is the very beginning of what's known as the Renaissance era, and the Europeans didn't have that. So the Moors came out of Spain and began to lay out what's known as the Vatican. The double-walled city is a replica of the double-walled city in Constantinople, where the first Christian church was built, the Hagia Sophia, which was the first of Christianity. So it's built today over in the Vatican as a replica of Constantinople, the church in Constantinople called Hagia Sophia. So that's
Dr. Williams, we got a very serious problem here, man, because your phone just keep going in and out. It's as if someone is attacking your line.
Right.
That's what it seems like to me, man. And I really, really wish I knew who it was. I'm going to talk to some people and see if we can find out who.
Okay. Now, young man, did you understand? Even though
I heard you, but I didn't know where you said the Coptics went. I know you said that they transferred it to Rome and the Vatican or St. Peter's Basilica, but did the Coptic Egyptians go with them?
The Coptic Egyptians are known as the Moors.
Oh, all right. No, but I mean like the Daphasitic Christians, like those Coptic, like the African Daphasitic.
No. everything. Then see, Christianity became white at that time.
Oh, so it was no more African community once they went to Rome.
The African community was at that time had in 1300 had been forced into what's known as Mohammedanism.
All right. So let me just be clear. So all the Coptics that was in the Hagia Sophia changed their label into Moors.
No. All the Coptics, you said was in the Hagia Sophia.
Yes.
The Coptics, those were the Melkites who created the image of Christ and Mary.
Yes.
So they were your first Christians. Okay. So the idea was to transfer the seed, because it was imminent that the Ottoman Turks would break through the double-walled city, and the city of Constantinople was made known as Istanbul, Turkey, and the Hagia Sophia, which they did in 1443 under Mohammed II.
All right. All right.
Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, that did. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we got another caller
No problem.
with his hand raised down here at area code 347. Tell us who you are, where you're calling from, what's your question or comment. 347. You are on the air. 347.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Good afternoon. Well, good night, actually, right now. My name is Pedro. I was calling with a question.
Okay, go ahead, bro. Where you calling from?
Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
So basically, my question is, I wanted to know, was the Quran introduced to the Ottoman Turks, or did the Ottoman Turks ever have the Quran, or was it around this time or anything?
Was the Quran introduced to the Ottoman Turks?
Yes. Did they have access to the Quran when they had the empire?
Yeah, they had the access to the Quran when they had controlled the empire over there. But the Quran was created and forced upon the charges or people under the dominance of the Ottoman Turkish Empire. That was 1300 years they were around.
So the Ottoman Turks did read from the Quran as well, then?
The Ottoman Turks did what?
So the Ottoman Turks did read from the Quran, correct?
Let me ask you a question. Hold on, Dr. Williams. Let me ask you a question, brother. Are you on a speakerphone?
No. You can't hear me?
Okay.
You can hear me now better?
Yeah, I hear you, but we seem like we got a lot of distortion around your voice.
Yeah, I've been hearing. Oh no, I hear you fine, but when it on the other sound like staticky stuff in the background. I don't know what that is. Like ooh, like it's like something rubbing the engine or something.
Right.
Okay. All right. Y'all go
But
ahead,
he
Dr.
answered my question. Basically, he said that the Ottoman Turk, the empire, they read from the Quran, correct?
Ottoman Turks did what now?
No, I asked did the Ottoman Turks, the empire, when they had the empire, did they read from the Quran?
No, they don't. They don't read anything. They enforce the Quran, and from that enforcement of the Quran came today's Islam. Okay, so Islam is a practice. It's a religion based upon today's Islam is a religion based upon the book called the Quran, and the Ottoman Turks only enforced that on the people that they had under their dominance. 1300.
Okay, so during the 1300s, they pushed the Quran on people.
They pushed the Quran that the AIU had created, Alliance Israelite Universal Prayer, that they a Zionist group in 18.
Okay.
That was formulated as a Zionist group. That Zionist group was to promote See? And in order to keep the three major religions with Abraham in it, they're the ones that took the time to come over there in Syria in 1870 to create a Quran. Make sure that Abraham was in that Quran. You see?
But that's where I get confused at, because why would they want to put Abraham in the Quran when the Jewish people believe that Abraham belongs to them? Why would they want to make another book as equal and powerful as them?
There was no Jewish people. That's the problem. Like I told you before. Salam Hussein, you get his book. It came out in 2006. Called The Invention of a Jewish People. There's no such thing as a Jewish people. Okay?
Dr. Williams, I'm gonna have to mute you back, man, because the show is being destroyed.
Oh man.
Okay, we got the mics muted on this right here thing. The number to dial into the broadcast is 515-605-9757, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to reopen my guest line. I'm going to see if he can get another phone and dial in from another phone or something, because both of these gentlemen they're breaking up, both of them, and it's really causing a serious problem. I don't understand what it is. I really wish I knew. But anyway, we're gonna go for on a whole nother twist. Y'all sit still, and then I'll come back and open up the phone line. Y'all sit still.
Queen Mu and the Egyptian Sphinx. This is written by Augustus Le Plongeon, MD. He did some archaeological work there in the Yucatan. Very scholarly, actually. He did a lot of research. He has a lot of sources in his book. Again, this was written in 1896. Just want to go ahead and read sign here. We're going to continue in this book. In the appendix are presented for the first time in modern ages the cosmogonic notions of the ancient Mayas, rediscovered by me. They will be found identical with those of the other civilized nations of antiquity. In them are embodied many of the secret doctrines communicated in their initiations to the adepts in India, Chaldea, Egypt, and Samothracia. The origin of the worship of the cross. Okay, again, future video. I'm going to show you where the cross originated. And he just correlated with it. And I didn't know he was going to correlate with that. But again, the origin of the worship of the cross, or a commemorance of what the cross was, right? Not a worship. Of that of the tree, or the tree of life, and of the serpent, the Khan's plum serpent, introduced in India by the Nagas. Who? The Nagas? This was introduced in India by the Nagas, who raised such a magnificent temple in Cambodia. The Nagas raised a temple in Cambodia. Who are these Nagas? In the city of Angkor Thom, to their god, the seven-headed serpent, the Akshapat of the Mayas. The same god of the Mayas, which is called Akshapat. And afterward carried its worship to Akkad and to Babylon. So what? We're talking about the Nagas? Who was these Nagas? They had brought this serpent knowledge from America, right, to Cambodia, from there to Akkad and to Babylon. So we've seen a reverse direction. In these cosmogonic notions, we also find the reason why the number 10 was held most sacred by all civilized nations of antiquity, and why the Mayas, who in their scheme of numeration adopted the decimal system, did not reckon by tens but by fives and twenties, and why they used the 20 millionth part of half the meridian as standard of lineal measures. In the following pages, I simply offer to my readers the relation of certain facts I have learned from the sculptures, the monumental inscriptions carved on the walls of the ruined palaces of the Mayas, the record of which is likewise contained in such of their books as have reached us. I venture only such explanations as will make clear their identity with the conceptions on the same subjects of the wise men of India, Chaldea, Egypt, and Greece. Alright? I do not ask my readers to accept a priori of my own conclusions, but to follow the sound advice contained in the Indian saying quoted at the beginning of this preface. Alright? Verify by experience what you have learned. Then only then form your own opinion. Alright, so we continue in the book The Lost Continent of Mu by Colonel James Churchward, 1931. And I'm on page 113, wanted to read this part to you. More correlation to what we're learning. It says, now I shall try to fix an appropriate date of the Naga colony in India before it became a colonial empire. Alright, so a colony. One prominent figure in the Naga or Maya Empire in India. So this Naga Empire is really the Maya Empire in India. It's a colony of the Mayas. So it says that one prominent figure of this Naga or Maya Empire in India was Prince Maya. Yes, Prince Maya. They had a prince. His name was Maya. The time of Prince Maya is doubtful, although I have come across many records about him. Not a single one even estimates the day when he lived, but according to traditions, and these traditions are as plentiful as leaves on a tree, Prince Maya lived 15,000 to 20,000 years ago. In Ramayana, or in the Ramayana, alright, that's a book, an ancient Hindu book of poems or stories or something like that, alright, we find this reference to him. In olden times there was a prince of the Nagas, whose name was Maya, of the Serpent Kings of the Nagas. Who's the Serpent Kings again? The Mayas, right? His name was Maya. Prince Maya was the author of the Surya Siddhanta, the hoariest treatise on astronomy in India. Its age has been variously estimated at from 10,000 to 22,000 years. At the time of Prince Maya, the Nagas were an empire. When the handle and shovel of this knife were made, the Nagas were a colony antedating the empire. That they were only a colony is clearly shown by the suns without rays on the horizon. This proves the extreme antiquity of the handle and the sheath. Alright? And this is what they're talking about, this knife and handle. The Naga Hindu knife, they call it. It is not known when the Naga Empire ended, but they're saying that this is very old, before their empire was established, when they were just colonists coming from America.
So what is the Ramayana? So the Ramayana is an ancient Indian epic composed sometime in the 5th century BC about the exile and then return of Rama, prince of Ayodhya. Alright, so we're in ancient history encyclopedia. Alright. It was composed in Sanskrit by the sage Valmiki. Alright, so this was written by this guy named Valmiki, who's known as the famous sage. Alright. The Ramayana. Valmiki was a great sage and author of the Ramayana. Says Maharshi Valmiki, the author of the great Indian epic Ramayana, was a Hindu sage who lived around the beginning of the 1st millennium BC. He is referred to as the Adi Kavi, the original creator of the Hindu sloka, a verse form in which most of the great epics such as the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, Puranas, and other works are composed. Alright? He started that. Alright? So just wanted to read this book over here. And we're in the book here. It's called Garden of the Elder Gods by Don Shom. Alright, and just reading right here. There's an overview of such regional centers will commence within Asia, where one of the early academies was evidently located in ancient Burma, modern-day Myanmar. According to the Indian historian Valmiki, alright, here we go, Valmiki, right? An Indian historian, who's a real sage, a real historian. Alright, Burma was the first settlement in Asia, with some records supposedly dating its cultural start around 33,000 BC. Alright, they can go that back. Alright, according to them, right? Records from other diverse cultures state that the extensive instruction was dispensed throughout Burma prior to its dispersal into other lands. Such graduates eventually migrated eastward into China and southeastward into Thailand and Cambodia, as well as westward into an uninhabited part of northwest India. Alright, so they're going to tell us what they're talking about when they're talking about these graduates. Because in those areas, human graduates and a few helpers that accompanied them taught human natives they encountered. Those regional teachers became known as the Nagas. Alright, the Nagas. Certain ancient tablets found in Burma have been directly linked with Naga records found within India. Writings by Valmiki expressly stated, now listen to what Valmiki said, the author of the Ramayana. Alright? Listen to what he stated. It says, the Maya, starting from the land of their birth in the east, right, in America, they went first to Burma and there taught the natives who became known as the people of the Nagas. Alright, you see what's going on here? You see the correlation? The original indigenous culture of India is thought to be that of the Danavas, the Nagas, who were later called the Nakals, and still later became known as the Maya. Alright? They later became known as the Maya, reportedly imparted that culture. It was the Nagas who started this whole Indian or Hindustan or Hindu mythology, culture, history. However, colonial churchward claimed that the original or earliest people were actually the Maya. Alright? He taught the right thing, which was the Maya, perhaps a reference to the ancient ones, or the pure-blooded, human-like lunar Petries that comprised the group known as the Helpers. Valmiki further claimed that the Naga came to be called the Maya in certain later settlements, so even these Nagas were called Maya in India. Alright, you hear that? Accounting for the overall confusion of the chronological order of introduction between the Naga, the Navas, Nakals, and Maya. They're probably all the same people. Some records resolve this linguistic dispute by referring to the earliest civilizers as the Naga Maya. The Naga Maya. Alright? There are further indications, although inconclusive, that the Naga Maya may have also been associated with the Mayans of Mesoamerica. Alright? They are the Mayans of Mesoamerica. Where else would they get the word from? Ancient records indicate that the original Naga Maya were associated with the serpent people. The what? Serpent people. Again, we were reading earlier, right, in the book Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids, right? Origin of the Maya, what did it tell us? Right, the book of Chilambalam related the first inhabitants of Yucatan were the Chanes, people of the serpent. Alright? Sama, serpent of the east. Alright, the Chumal book of Chilambalam is even more specific. It speaks of the first inhabitants of Yucatan known as the Akanule, or people of the serpent. People of the serpent. Alright, we go back to Garden of the Elder Gods. Alright, the other book we were reading. It says, again, ancient records indicate that the original Naga Maya were associated with the serpent people. The snake kings, the Nagas. What up, my Naga? The esoteric non-human race of wondrous beings. Esoteric non-human, so they want to make it all mythical, right? That reportedly possessed immense cosmic wisdom. The serpent symbol was one of the ancient icons specifically referring to the ancient ones. You see, that's you they're talking about, the ancient ones. Hence the Naga emblem became the serpent or cobra symbol of ancient India, one revered as signifying both great wisdom and immense knowledge, and you find that in Egypt too, right? Now back to what the Ramayana was telling us and what we were reading in the other book, right? It was saying that about Prince Maya, right? Because one of the prominent Naga Empire leaders was the original Prince Maya, right? This is in their Hindu text, Prince Maya. He came from another land, with a later namesake or counterpart also existing during much later times. No written record established a time frame for the original prince, but oral traditions place him as living sometime between 18,000 and 13,000 BC. The Ramayana merely refers to the original Prince Maya as living in the olden times. Original people from the olden times. That original prince is credited as the true source of most of the esoteric knowledge of India. Alright, he was a Maya, he was an American, a Naga. Alright, he passed the knowledge over to the Hindus over there, or the native people over there. Alright, passed down over the ages, which was later contained in the Surya Siddhanta. Alright, all that he taught, Prince Maya, was written right there in that book.
Or called Queen Mu and the Egyptian Sphinx. This is written by Augustus Le Plongeon. Perhaps also will be felt the necessity of recovering the libraries of the Maya sages, hidden about the beginning of the Christian era, to save them from destruction at the hands of the devastating hordes that invaded their country in those times, and to learn from their contents the wisdom of those ancient philosophers, of which that preserved in the books of the Brahmins is but the reflection. You hear that? So all these books of the Brahmins in Hindustan is just a reflection of the old knowledge of the Mayas. And to learn from their contents the wisdom of those ancient philosophers, of which that preserved in the books of the Brahmins is but the reflection. Alright, so these books of the Brahmins in Hindustan or India is just a reflection of the Maya history or stories or knowledge. Alright, that wisdom was no doubt brought to India. Again, that wisdom was no doubt brought to India, and from there carried to Babylon and Egypt. So it went from America to India, and his, based on what he's reading, to Babylon and Egypt. In very remote ages by those Maya adepts, Nakal, the exalted, who starting from the land of their birth as missionaries of religion and civilization went to Burma, where they became known as the Nagas, demonizing serpents, right? But we're talking about the snake kings, the Khans, the Nagas, the Mayas, the plum serpent, the Khans, priest kings. We're talking about the dragon kings, right? Not all snakes are bad, just like not all angels are good. Thanks to King Drop for that drop. Alright? So again, they went to Burma, the Maya, where they became known as the Nagas, and they established themselves in the Deccan, whence they carried their civilizing work
all over the earth. Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids, again by Peter Tompkins.
Alright, so now we're on part 25. It's called Prehistoric Mexico. Alright, and I want to read this part. We read from a book a little bit, Move, the Lost Continent. That was written by James Churchward. I want to read a little bit of the story behind that book, though. Alright, so it's in this book, Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids. So it says, one indication that a far earlier civilization existed in the Valley of Mexico than was reached by Manuel Gamio's spades comes from the tantalizing discoveries made in the Mexican highlands by a Scotsman, William Niven. As a mining engineer working for a Mexican corporation, Niven described coming upon the remains of two separate prehistoric civilizations at depths from 6 to 30 feet below the present level of the Valley of Mexico. Alright, he found a whole city, town, ruins, 30 feet below the Valley of Mexico. Alright, that's how far he found it. That's how deep. So dig on William Niven, alright? These discoveries made between 1910 and 1930 have hardly been considered by the scientific world, partly because they fit into none of the preconceived notions. Alright, it doesn't fit into their out of Africa or theories and all that stuff, right? Mesopotamia and all that. And partly because they were used by an even more unorthodox author, James Churchward. Alright, so it seems that this author, James Churchward, somehow knew William Niven, got the info, and wrote his own book about it. Alright, what this guy found, William Niven, but based on what he believed, his belief. Alright, so it says he used it to validate to the orthodox scientists, his even wilder hypothesis, the existence of a vast continent in the Pacific Ocean, which he called the mother, says he, of several colonial civilizations which spread around the globe. Alright, so real quick, this is what they're talking about that James Churchward wrote, which is The Lost Continent of Mu, which we read a little bit earlier. Fantastic but true, the scientific mystical discovery of a strange civilization that disappeared 50,000 years ago. Intensely interesting. Alright, so James Churchward, right? So this is the book, but he got a lot of his studies from, alright, so it says here, dedicated to my friend William Niven. So I guess that was his principles, by whose help and discoveries I have been able to bring to fruition this work. So you see, he wouldn't have been able to write this book if William Niven hadn't made that discovery and shared the info with him somehow. So it says preface. All matters of science in this work are based on the translations of two sets of ancient tablets. Nakal tablets, which we already know are the Nagas, which are the Mayas, right? Which I discovered in India many years ago, and a large collection of stone tablets, over 2,500, recently discovered by William Niven in Mexico. So he used the Nagas tablets or the ancient Mayas tablets, and he used other ancient people of Mexico or aboriginal, tablets that were found in Mexico. So, he's using all our work, all our history, basically. Both sets have the same origin. You heard that? Both sets have the same origin. Both sets are extracts from the sacred inspired writings of Mu, what he calls Mu, right? Mu is Lemuria, Atlantis, America. It's all this place. It was here, not all of it sent. The Nakal tablets are written with the Naga symbols and characters, and legend says were written in the motherland and first brought to Burma and then to India. Their extreme age is attested to by the fact that history says the Nakals left Burma more than 15,000 years ago. Alright, so now you see how James Churchward is saying that these tablets, these Naga symbols, were first brought from the motherland. We just read before, right, what Valmiki told us, right? Valmiki, let's go back. Again, in the Garden of the Elder Gods book we just read, right, what did Valmiki tell us specifically? That the Maya, starting from the land of their birth in the east, which was America, right, the Maya went first to Burma and there taught the natives who became known as the people of the Nagas. Alright, so it was the Maya, it wasn't no Mu. Alright, so let's go back to what, so James Churchward is taking the narrative, right, and he's not giving credit to Valmiki. He's straight up saying that the Naga symbols, right, were written in the motherland, or the place of birth we got in the other book, right, which was the east, with the Maya, right, that was the motherland, and first brought to Burma, then to India. So when it's talking about motherland, Mu, gosh, the hijack. It's talking about the true birth of the Maya, the land of the Maya, which is America. So it says, where the Mexican tablets were written is problematical. They are mostly written in the Northern or Igor symbols and characters. What actual writing there is on both sets is in the alphabet of Mu, motherland. Whether they were written in Mexico or in the motherland and brought to Mexico, I cannot say. You see, he doesn't know whether they were written in the motherland. What motherland? He keeps saying Mu. It's an imagination place for him. But, you know, we know Mu is part of an ancient land that was connected to America. It had something to do with also the original people that were coming out of America, right? But he's telling you straight up here, he doesn't know whether it was in Mexico or the motherland. He can't say, all right? They are, however, over 12,000 years old, as shown by some of the tablets. All right, so that's just the story I wanted you to, you know, if you get into this book, it's really good because he goes into what he found. But let's go back to Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids that they were talking about, James Churchward and William Nevin's story. So it says Churchward's efforts, though very popular with aficionados of Atlantean and Lemurian tales, and often prophetically exact in certain details, have, because of Churchward's unsupported and highly improbable notions, he doesn't have, you know, supported evidence, been thrown out by an establishment which may have discarded, along with Churchward's Lemurian backwater, some living, screaming babies. So you hear that? So even though he was making some of it up or just trying to fit his narrative, he was getting a lot of true information, a lot of real historic, archaeological, real scientific research that William was finding. And because of his crazy, that wasn't fitting with what the establishment wanted at that time, they were throwing out babies. The babies were screaming, saying there was information here that we could have used. So all that got lost because of his wild theories, supposedly. So being befriended by his fellow Freemason, Churchward was of no greater help to William Nevin. So he was a Freemason, you see that? And he took William's work and he made his own book. He probably made millions of that during that time for writing that book, Mu. Alright, so he didn't help William Nevin at all. Then it had been to Le Plongeon. So he didn't help Le Plongeon because we're going to get into his book, and William Nevin. He didn't help either of them, Churchward, except that with the thousands of copies Churchward's book sold around the world, Nevin was rescued from oblivion. So we wouldn't even know about Nevin, William, right, if at least Churchward wouldn't have wrote about him. So at least he did something so we can remember what happened here. When he died in 1937, his obit in the American Historical Review listed him merely as a professor who had been engaged for several years in mineralogical research, an honorary life member of the American Museum of Natural History, and various other such scientific societies who had become involved in Mexican archaeology, nothing more. Nothing to indicate he might have made the most controversial archaeological discovery of the Western world. Alright, so his work, what he found in 1910s, 1930s, William Nevin in Mexico, which James Churchward took and made a book called Mu, The Lost Continent, even though this stuff was found in Mexico. I want you to understand that. Alright? His work is not known. He's not known in our textbooks. We don't know nothing about this guy. Alright? It was on purpose. He found something very controversial. Actually, Nevin had been exploring in Mexico since 1889. While digging among the ancient ruined cities in the unknown and uninhabited portion of the state of Guerrero, southwest of Mexico City in the Acapulco area, he began to receive periodic visits from local Indians who came to him with terracotta figurines and other objects for sale. Though the Indians pretended to have found these objects at the Pyramid of the Sun and Moon at San Juan Teotihuacan, he then realized that the source of the artifacts must be nearer. With a bribe of 5 pesos, which is $2.50 at that time, he managed to discover the actual spot. Between Texcoco and Huajuepantla, hamlets just north of Mexico City, he came across hundreds, if not thousands, of pits dug into the sand, clay, and tepetate, used for material by builders of Mexico City for more than 300 years. Exploring these pits, which Nevin says cover an area of about 10 by 20 miles in the northwest corner of the Valley of Mexico, he came across vast layers of what appeared to be very ancient ruins, whole prehistoric cities lying as deep as 30 feet below the plain, which appeared to have been overwhelmed by a series of cataclysmic tidal waves. You hear what's going on here? They found what he found. He found ruins buried 30 feet below the ground. Obvious something happened there, right? Cataclysm. Perhaps at several thousand-year intervals, which, as Nevin described them, had left telltale strata of boulders, sand, and pebbles by their depth beneath the surface, and even estimated the oldest remains might go as far back as 50,000 years. Alright? Now remember, in the past videos and the other parts of this series, we got Graham Hancock telling us they've been hiding 100,000 years of history here in America. There's proof of 100,000 years of occupation in the Amazon. Alright, so what are we, what's going on here, right? What are we really finding out? This is the true old world, right? Look at everything that they've hidden from us. 4 to 6 feet below the first pavement, even says he encountered a second concrete floor, but in the intervening space failed to find a single piece of pottery or other trace to indicate that humans had once lived here. Beneath the second pavement, he describes coming upon what he considered the great find of many, many years' work in Mexican archaeology. Niven discerned beneath a well-defined layer of ashes from 2 to 3 feet thick, analyzed as being of volcanic origin, traces of innumerable buildings, large but regular in size, the remains of a vast city which appeared uniformly at the same level throughout more than 100 clay pits. In one of the houses, most of which were crushed and ruined, filled with ashes and debris, he says he found an arched wooden door which had turned to stone. The walls of this house were bound together with white cement, harder than stone itself. In one uncrushed room, about 30 feet square, full of volcanic ash, with a flat roof of concrete and stone, Niven says he came across many artifacts and human bones, which crumbled to the touch like a slaked lime.
According to his detailed report, a complete goldsmith's outfit was still on the floor with some 200 models of figures and idols modeled in clay turned to stone, each model thickly coated with iron oxide, bright and yellow, presumably there to prevent the molten metals adhering to the patterns while in the casting pot. Niven says the ornaments were unlike any found in Palenque or Mitla or anywhere between. The work was fine, beautifully polished, demonstrating an advanced degree of civilization. On the walls, Niven found paintings in red, blue, yellow, green, and black, which he says compared favorably with the best he had seen from Greek, Etruscan, or Egyptian works of a similar sort. The ground color of the wall was a pale blue. 6 inches down from the 14-foot ceiling, a frieze painted in dark red and black ran around the room, glazed with some native wax, which had perfectly preserved the color and pattern, which depicted the life of some person, apparently a shepherd from birth to death. Continuing the book, it says, then in 1921, we're still talking about William Niven and his discovery there in Mexico, in the course of excavations at Santiago Ahuizotla, a hamlet contiguous to Amantla, about 5 miles northwest of Mexico City, Niven came across a discovery so startling, he says, it opened up for him a whole new field of archaeological research. At a depth of 12 feet, Niven described coming across the first of a series of stone tablets with very unusual pictographs, systematically exploring other clay pits and tepetate quarries within an area of 20 square miles. He claimed he was able to unearth during the course of the next 2 years 975 more tablets. In the end, he says he found more than 2,600, though there was nothing in these tablets by which he could determine their exact or even approximate age, Niven deduced from the depth of which they were buried and the accumulation of debris on top of them that they were over 12,000 years old and more likely closer to 50,000 years old. I just want to show you, all right, the picture of these artifacts that he found, tablets, all right. He found so many. It says Niven showcase number 6 containing a portion of his collection of carved stones from the Valley of Mexico. When William Niven died in Austin, Texas in 1937, the New York Times described him as a distinguished mineralogist and archaeologist who had discovered buried prehistoric cities beneath the Valley of Mexico. He was also noted as the discoverer of 4 new minerals, including citrallite, torogon, and nivenite. According to the Times, Niven donated to the Mexican government the best of the relics he found in Mexico, keeping for himself some which he sold to finance further archaeological expeditions. With what was left over, there were enough pieces to establish in Mexico City a private museum of 30,000 exhibits. You hear this? How come we don't know about this? Alright? Alright, so I just wanted to go back to an illustration that was here in the book that I didn't show you guys. So I guess this is the depth of what he found, the ruins, the buried city. Alright, so it tells you, I guess this will be the top, right, the land level. And then it says here 1 foot of earth. And then right here it says 9 feet of boulders, gravel, sand, drogues, pottery. Then it says first pavement, 6 feet of small boulders, gravel and sand. Then it says second pavement, right? And then it says 14 feet of small boulders, gravel, sand. Then right here it says volcanic ashes. And then it says buried city, the third pavement. Nevin's Mexican buried cities, now 7,000 feet above level of sea. Mountains 5,000 feet higher intervening. In the several strata clearly revealed by the pits, Niven says he found traces of what he describes as 3 well-preserved concrete floors or pavements at depths from about 6 to 25 feet. Above the first pavement there was a deposit of small boulders, pebbles and sands covered with a foot-thick coating of rich valley soil. Everywhere in the first layer of debris, Niven found fragments of broken pottery, small clay figures, diorite beads, spears and arrowheads, spindle whorls, and other artifacts mostly broken. Alright, so this is the depth. You see how deep he found this? This was buried under a cataclysm. Alright. Alright, and we're back in the book just real quick. You know, The Lost Continent of Mu by James Churchward. Just a little closing statement from him. So again, James Churchward, he said he found some tablets called the Nakal tablets in India, right? Which we know the Nakals are just the Nagas, which are the Mayas, right? And also he used the tablets that William Niven found, right, in his discovery here in Mexico, right? So it says the Nakal tablets, which I came across in the Orient, were only fragments of the various subjects with many missing links. The Mexican tablets not only confirm the Nakal, but supply many of the missing links. Wow, the Mexican tablets helped them supply the missing links. I spent many years proving as far as possible by experimentation that the facts set forth in these tablets were true. I spent over 50 years in investigation, research, and explorations to prove out what I found written on these intensely interesting Nakal tablets. I have yet to find the first one that is wrong. The Mexican, like the Nakal, indubitably establishes to my own satisfaction that at one time the earth had an incalculably ancient civilization which was in many respects superior to our own and far in advance of us in some important essentials which the modern world is just beginning to have cognizance of. These tablets with other ancient records bear witness to the amazing fact that the civilizations of India, Babylonia, Persia, Egypt, and Yucatan were but the dying embers of the first great civilization. The Oriental Nakal tablets, which formed the foundation of the first edition of this book, were a wonderful history of past man. Niven's Mexican stone tablets are equally wonderful and instructive, if not more so. If not more, it is more so, because they're original. They confirm my contention that the oldest records of man are not to be found in Egypt. Alright? Not to be found in Egypt or the valley of the Euphrates. They're talking about over there in Iraq and Mesopotamia. But right here in North America. But right here in North America. And in the Orient where Mu planted her first colonies. So he's letting you know subliminally, right? Where can you find the oldest records of man? In North America. And then he says it was passed on from there to India via Mu, he says. But he's letting you know straight up, North America. If you want to study, do real research of the cradle of humans, where we came from, our origin stories, our whole history, how we got civilized, you're going to find that here in North America. All right?
everybody. We're back. I'm going to open up Dr. Williams' line again and see if he's still with us and see if the phone's got any better. Dr. Walter Williams, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here, Brother Tarhaka. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're coming across pretty good right now. Okay. Did you change phones? What was going on?
I didn't do anything.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know what happened, what was going on, but I got to talk to some people and see if I can draw a bead on what's going on with somebody interfering with something or whatever. I just need to know who. I don't care if they're in another state, man. I send somebody. But anyway, let's take up where we left off at. You was the young man. He's gone now. I've changed browsers and closed out and dialed back in myself and all that to see if I can get things straightened out here with this, because this is totally ridiculous and totally uncalled for. But anyway,
right.
We're gonna go to work on the first thing in the morning, man. And we calling all across the United States. But anyway, I have a question for you now.
Okay.
You answered my question about the Quran, and you was telling us that there's no such thing as a Jew, and I'm inclined to believe you, because how could it be a Jew in ancient times when the alphabet J was just invented almost yesterday, what 14th, 15th, 16th century when they came out with the alphabet J?
1630.
When was that? I know your wife did.
1630. She writes a chapter in my book, The Historical Origin of Christianity, about the historical origin of the letter J. 1630, it took the letter I and brought it before the line, below the line, and put a curl on it. And that was the letter J,
Okay.
1630.
Okay, so it was originally I, and then they added, yeah.
They brought it below
Okay.
the line and put a curl on it, curled it up. And that became the letter J in 1630. See?
Okay. But now we got a Bible that's been translated into English, and we got a Joseph, we got a Jesus, we got a Jonathan, we got a Jew, we got all these J's in the Bible, in both Old and New Testament.
Well, repeat that again. It wasn't what you said about the Old Testament.
I said, well, we got the Old and New Testaments here, and today, and the alphabet J was just created in the 16th century, but this Bible that we have is supposed to be going all the way back all these years and all this business, but it got a J through it. It got John, James, Joseph, Jesus, Jew, Jehoshaphat, Jeremiah, Judah.
Those are all recent Bibles, Brother Tarhaka. They're recently written, that's all. After the letter J came out. Before the letter J came out, like Johannes Gutenberg, 1437, he invented the printing press with movable print. His name was Johannes Gutenberg. See, but he had the J back then. His name would be Joseph Gutenberg. You see, and then they had Johannes Fuss, the capitalist, who loaned money to Johannes Gutenberg, and at a higher interest rate, and he couldn't pay that interest back, so he confiscated that printing press, and so his name was Johannes Fuss. But back, if it was a J was back then, his name would be Joseph Fuss. And then you had Johannes Rushlin, back to who formulated that Bible to be printed. So if it had a J back then, his name would be Joseph Rushlin. You see? So, but until 1630 came, that's when they created the letter J, and by taking the letter I and bringing it down below the line and putting a curl on it, and that became J.
Okay. All right. Now, what else that you think we need to know about this Prophet Muhammad thing that you want to add?
Well, the Prophet Muhammad, like I was mentioning before, that today's Prophet Muhammad, so you have two Prophet Muhammads, one of Island of Mohammed Arabia that was born in Spain in 1165. He was a Moor. He came of a Moorish family, you see. And I gave his travels, how he went about Egypt, and that he was a clairvoyant. He was a poet. He was a teacher. He was a writer of books, The Fetcher Hut, and other book that he wrote. And so he, came out of Spain, and he went around Egypt, the first one of the Muhammads, because his alias was Muhammad. Muhammad Arabia, alias Muhammad. See, that alias, you can do a lot of things with the alias. You see, an alias becomes another person. You see, and you can take that alias and put it anywhere you want to put it. You see, it's very important to know that.
Okay,
and,
now, go ahead.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, today, here in America, we have the Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. So could you give us, what kind of connection is that?
Well, the Nation of Islam is based off the teachings of one Elijah Muhammad, and they are MUS, Muslims. But we're talking about the one that's over there in Northeast Africa and in Egypt. They are MO, Muslims. There's a different story there, different ideology there, different teaching there. See, the word Muslim means one who follows the teachings of one Muhammad. So when you get to today's the Muslims over here, the Nation of Islam Muslims, they follow the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. You see, and so when Malcolm X went over there and took his Hajj and his pilgrimage over there, he met these other Muslims over there who had a different ideology, and when he came back, that's when he had a split with Elijah Muhammad, because he learned something that over there in what they call Northeast Africa or the Middle East, nicknamed Middle East, that Elijah Muhammad wasn't teaching over here. See, so that's what it split up and broke up those two entities. So he understood one entity as well as the other entity.
Okay. Now, my understanding is that Elijah Muhammad, John G. Jackson, and a few other people, they were a part of Timothy Drew Ali with the Moorish Science Temple of America. Is that correct?
What was that now?
I say Elijah Muhammad and John G. Jackson and a few other folks, they were connected to Timothy Drew Ali, Noble Drew Ali, with the Moorish Science Temple of America. Is that correct?
Well, no, that's a different history, a different people, and so that with different character of people, you're going to find different history. Now, in 1913, Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Science Temple in New Jersey. That was in 1913. So Chicago, Illinois, and he established the Moorish Science Temple of America there. But he was arrested the same year he got here, and the police beat him up and so forth and so on, and he died the following year, 1929. In fact, I sent you a paper stating all of this, and stated where he lived on the north side of Chicago and everything. You still got that paper, Brother Tarhaka? The guy with the feds on the...
Yeah.
Well, that's a very good article for you to read and study. So anyway, that's where the Moorish Science Temple of America began. And then Prophet Mohammud appeared to take over Noble Drew Ali's sect, S-E-C-T. And they didn't care for Prophet Mohammud, so they ran him out of Chicago, and he went into Detroit. While in Detroit, he met Elijah Poole, known as Elijah Muhammad today. And he taught him the tenets of supposed Islam. And that's how the two factions came about. And that's how Elijah Poole became Elijah Muhammad, by the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, who was run out of Chicago.
Okay, now Prophet Muhammad, was he of African descent? Where did he come from? What's his pedigree?
Well, his pedigree, they said, he came out of the Middle East, as they call it, or Northeast Africa, or over there in, around Saudi Arabia and so forth and so on, and that he came over in this country to recruit or get him a group going, just like Noble Drew Ali did. So he came from that area over here, and but he wasn't accepted because the brothers in Chicago felt that he was not a member of our race, even though he was dark-skinned, but he was not a member of our race, and they didn't like him anyway. So and they didn't like what he was teaching, and they didn't want him around him, so they ran him out. And that's when he went into Detroit, and he met Elijah Poole and taught him, and then Elijah Poole became Elijah Muhammad, and he started what is known as the nation. So that's how it goes.
Okay, and but none of this had anything to do with the myth of the Prophet Muhammad.
No, this is human history I'm talking now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So now, during the time period when this thing was going on about there being a Muhammad first began, what were the ancient Egyptians doing during that time period?
Well, the ancient Egyptians had been in the secular community, the ones that rejected this Jesus the Christ. That secular community who would not accept Serapis in their temple system or even in their society, etc., they were still around, but they had become indoctrinated by the Ottoman Turks, who took their sword and put to their throat and said, Muhammad will die. So rather than die, they said, Islam alaikum. So they became a Muslim, a Mohammedan, put it like that. That's what happened to them.
Okay, so they had religion forced on them.
There you go.
Instead of the teachings of their own ancestors and stuff, and it seems to me we got the same thing. Nobody wants to do any research. They just accept things and just go about believing in stuff. And when you question their beliefs, they get upset with you.
Because they don't have the answer for you, because you have disturbed their belief with facts. See, when you put facts facts and belief don't work together. It's like oil and water. See? Facts is one thing, and belief is another thing. So you can't take your belief and make it become factual. But you can take facts and make it your truth if you know the facts, which is stronger than the argument, more profound in reasoning, more dependable than opinions. Silence, dispute, supersedes predictions, and facts always ends the argument if you present the facts. But the argument will not end if you bring up belief. That's where the argument begins.
I find it quite amazing, but I've gotten to the point now when I'm running into people and they start telling me, give me any rudiments of their beliefs, I start moving away from them. I really have no further conversation with them. I don't. What I'm looking for is for you to give me some facts with truth attached to it, based on your research and your investigation. And it's very, very rare for me to find somebody with this kind of knowledge and stuff. So I pretty much don't have a whole lot of people to talk to. They want to tell me, well, you know, if God willing, you know, the Lord works in mysterious ways, and and this kind of business, man. And I'd be like, wow, I'd rather just sit there and just listen to me some nice, smooth music and just relax, opposed to engaging in a conversation. Because in my personal opinion, there is no conversation when your mind is burdened by beliefs, and that is all that you are regurgitating and spewing out as if it has some type of truthful validity to it. And when you are questioned about it, then you get upset, and all this him business. So to me, it's a waste of time to talk to some people. So I don't hold a whole lot of conversation with a whole lot of people.
I don't blame you.
And then you, if you get into somebody's vehicle, you stay out of there on Sunday, because you got the gospel rolling, you got the preacher preaching, and actually, I had more peace of mind during the so-called pandemic when it came out with that, because the government and white folks told them, said, well, look, you got to shut the church down. If you don't shut the church down, then we're going to put you in jail. And so I was like, well, okay, well, wait a minute now. Here's your golden opportunity, because Jesus is going to save you from this. You know, but I noticed that the churches start closing down. And then white folks come back later and say, okay, well, you can open your church back up. But my question is, well, where was Jesus? What happened? And then when you mention this to them, they get upset with you.
Of course. See, it's very difficult for an individual to believe. That's a very fragile individual. See, when you say, I believe, that means that you really don't know. He's telling you, I don't know, but I believe it. I can't prove it, but I believe it. I don't know whether this is facts or not. I believe it. Personally, I don't give a damn whether it's a fact or not. I still believe it. That belief is very powerful. It's the glue that keeps the lie together by all races, creeds, and color throughout the world. See? So these religions have controlled man's thinking and actions. And that's what religions are designed for, to control man's thinking and actions. And that's what they're doing.
Well, it seems to me if we've been doing this here for 75 years, just say we've been doing it bare minimum 75 years. And I know the definition of insanity. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over, looking for a different result. And this type of thing right here, I'm trying to see what kind of result is it. I mean, we got churches on my street. Let's see now. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 11, I counted 11 churches. No, 12, 13. You get 13 churches before you get downtown on one street. And the same thing goes on in every city in the state of Florida. But we had a hurricane that came through here. And they say this thing is it was so big, it was of a biblical proportion. Now we got all the churches, everybody gave the pastor all the money. But where was Jesus? I mean, I'm sure they have paid enough money to the church for Jesus to stop the hurricane. But it didn't happen. Hurricane come through here and done billions and billions worth of damage. Whole counties missing, houses missing, cars missing, people missing, boats in a whole nother county. Cars are supposed to be in one county, they're in another county.
Wow.
Where was Jesus, man? I mean, I know church is a multi-million-dollar empire. And people steady giving the pastor money every week. But then when there's trouble, there's no Jesus. Amazing.
Well, that's the reason I wrote the book, The Historical Origin of Christianity. On the front cover it says, there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. Never walked this earth. So that's the reason I put that on my cover, so that the people know there's never been a Jesus. And I have a $5,000 award to give to anybody of any race, creed, or color, including the Pope, if you can use the discipline of history, not what you believe, not what you think. If you use the discipline of history and bring me some facts that a character by the name of a Jesus the Christ walked this earth as a human being, I'll give you $5,000. And if you can't do it yourself, if you can go and get somebody to do it, I'll give you a finder's fee of $2,000. That's my challenge.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, y'all hear that? All right, Dr. Williams, we're going to take a little quick break, and I'll be right back. Hello, everybody. I want to introduce you to The Great Debate by Dr. Walter Williams. He single-handedly laid out the facts in this powerful debate against Mr. Mohammed of the Nation of Islam, Chester Blair, a prominent lawyer in Chicago, Illinois, and Reverend Henry Hardy, a prominent minister in Chicago, and Prince Azio ben Israel of the Hebrew Israelites. This debate was hosted by a retired policeman named W.L. Lillard. Now, the whole thing was a setup by Lillard and his gang, but it didn't work. They brought what they believed to the table, but Dr. Walter Williams brought what he knew for a fact and what he could prove and laid it on the table. We are now in the age of knowing. The age of walking around believing in stuff is over. For your copy of The Great Debate, go to TarhakaDataElimination.org. That's TarhakaDataElimination.org, or contact me by phone. My number's on the website. Oh, and by the way, the lawyer got bust up too. The Great Debate. Get your copy today. Good day and peace.
as a secured party and creditor, can you buy a home, a car, and other items you need and want? The answer is yes, and there are documents you use to do just that. Catch my radio podcast at Blog Talk Radio. Go to tarhakadebtelimination.org. Fill out the box with your email address that say join our mailing list, and I will send you my free report. You got credit problems? Contact me at tarhakadebtelimination.org. Let's stay in honor and get into the private.
Dr. Williams.
Yes.
You with us? Okay,
yes,
could you, I hear you come across loud and clear. Could you give us your email address? We got a brother in the chat room want to get your email address so he can contact you.
Well, I don't have an email anymore since my wife passed, but I'll give him my phone number where he can contact me. Are you ready to write? Young man,
I'm going to type it in the chat room.
Huh?
I'm going to type it into the chat room so he can get it.
Okay. Area code 773. 9.
All right.
You got that? 773.
Yeah. Yeah.
947 8662. You want me to repeat it?
I got 773-947-8662. Dr. Walter Williams.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, we got it.
Okay. He can call me, or anybody can call me anytime I'm here. Glad to talk to you.
All right. All right. Well, I just sent it over there to him. Okay. Dr. Williams, we're down to the last 38 minutes, and what I'm going to do is I have a little lengthy plug that I was going to run on out to the end. And you got anything else you want to add before I mute your mic?
Okay. So we're going off the air, right?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna run this here a little plug and just go on out because I think what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna probably have to scrap this show because of the mess that we had at the top. So I'm gonna have to look at, but more like we'll probably have to redo this, man.
Right. Okay. Well, anyway, I gave out my phone number where you can contact me, and I suggest that you get a copy of The Great Debate. If you do, you never regret it because it's a collector's item. And next year, which is 2 months from now, it will be 30 years old. So it's a collector's item. And there's a lot of information being disseminated on that tape. And I suggest that you get it. And I suggest also that you buy and purchase both of my books, because my books, The Historical Origin of Christianity, it's been out for 29 years, going on 30 years, and it's disseminating a whole lot of information to our African community that they cannot get anyplace else, because nobody is writing on the subject that I've written on, and I put it in this book form. And suggest that you get my second book, The Historical Origin of Islam. That's been out for 19 years, so going on 20 years. So there's a lot of information in there. And in fact, I said in that book, on page 29, on page 69, I give you the first meeting in Islam history that was taking place in 1926, and I give you all the minutes to that meeting. So there's something that you need to know, and because you're out here, you're asking questions, and these two books can clear up a lot of questions that you have. And then you have my phone number that I gave you. You can always call me, and we can go further in conversation. So that's what I have to say, Brother Tarhaka. I certainly appreciate you for creating a platform to give to me so I can disseminate information to our community, African community, so they can be informed on what's happening and not in the dark, grappling in the dark. And also, you are the one that is responsible for these programs, for this information to come out, and they also can learn your information, which you have, and your knowledge. So therefore, I want to thank you for creating this platform for me, and so we can further enlighten our people and teach our people so they can learn something of the truth. And the truth will make you free. The lie is not your friend. So with that, I said good night, and thank you very much.
Okay, well, wait a minute, Dr. Williams, before you go, could you give us an update on your new book that's coming out? Where we at on that?
Well, my new book, I'm working on it every day, and it's going to be an outstanding, knockout, fantastic book loaded with information that you can't get any place else but from this book, and it'll be out. The woman that's helping me put the book together, she said that we should be through with this book by the end of this year, the first of next year, but I would say no later than the spring of next year. Between now and the spring of next year, we should have my book out, the new book. It's Dispelling Myths of Ancient Egypt, and it's a book that's going to resonate with our community, and it's going to go into all the black studies departments in all the colleges and universities throughout America. So I'm looking forward to that book to come out. So that's what that book is about, and so I'll keep you informed on when it's going to be out and how you can get it and so forth and so on. So I'm looking forward to it.
I got a guy in the chat room. He wants to know if he can pre-order the book now from you.
No, I'd rather not do that because I don't want to take his money because it's not finalized. Okay?
Okay.
So I'd rather for him to wait. And he's going to know when the book is out because I will be on your show to announce it, see? And then,
okay.
You know, and then he's got my phone number. He can always call me and keep in touch, and I can keep him informed. So I'd rather not take any money right now from anybody. You know?
He said, take the money. All right. Okay, Dr. Williams, I certainly appreciate you being on the broadcast, and I know I'm going to have to take this show and throw it in the garbage, man, because I'm going to listen to it and see how it's going to come out, but I know with this missing audio, messed up audio, man, we don't put out no junk, man. But
Right.
anyway, I certainly appreciate you being in, and I'm going to say good night to you. I'm going to go ahead and click on this plug I got over here about these Articles of Confederation. We're going to cut some of that loose so we can get some insight on that and get the skinny on that.
Okay.
But
Now,
I'll be talking to you tomorrow, man.
okay. Let me ask you this. Can I sing my song, my closing song?
Yeah, go ahead and sing. Yeah, go ahead and
Okay.
sing your song, man.
Hey, okay. There is room at the pyramid for you. There is room at the pyramid, oh, for you. Well, millions have come and millions have gone, but there's still room at the pyramid for you. There is room at the pyramid for you. There is room at the pyramid, oh, for you. You may be old or you may be young, but there's still room at the pyramid for you. And I'm inviting all of my brothers and sisters out there in the listening audience to meet me in ancient Egypt, and bring your ox with you, and take your cross and put it in the garbage can. Throw it in the garbage can, and bring your ox, because the ox is a symbol of life, and that cross is a symbol of death, and we don't want that anymore. So thank you, Brother Tarhaka. Love you all my African brothers and sisters out there. I send my love to you. Miat Hotel.
All right. Miat Hotel, my brother.
Oh, wow. Hey, much love and respect. Thanks for tuning in once again. This video is a little related to the previous video when we're talking about the Sons of Liberty, Boston Tea Party, who were the people in the Revolutionary War, who was it organized by really, behind the scenes, secret societies, Masonic orders, so-called brotherhoods. And today we're going to talk about who they got influenced by. Who were they really getting all these ideas from? Perhaps who they might have been related to, a lot of them being half Indians, half Iroquois descendants, and bringing what they learned from the American Indians into their so-called American Revolution. Shout out to Topcast, great presentation he had on this, Amani Bay. Just want you guys to know that, you know, the Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, and the American Union were established and influenced by American Indians, mainly the Iroquois. So we're just going to be reading a couple things here. Hope you guys enjoy. I'm going to be reading from this book, Indian Roots of American Democracy, edited and with introduction by Jose Barreto. We're in part 2 of this book, We're going to be reading from this chapter, Iroquoian Political Concept and the Genesis of American Government, Donald A. Grind, Jr. There is ample scholarly opinion and factual data to conclude that the Founding Fathers respected and used American Indian ideas as the American government evolved. Recently, a few anthropologists and ethnohistorians unfamiliar with the interpretive and documentary evidence have concluded that there is no evidence to support the notion that the Iroquois and other Native American confederacies had an influence on the evolution of American government. Such sweeping generalizations are facile and dated in light of the interpretive and documentary evidence that has emerged in the last 2 generations. Much of the scholarship that ignores the importance of Native American ideas in American history also marginalizes the role of American Indians in our history. The process of marginalization has gone so far that it is difficult for some scholars to believe that Iroquois Sakims were present at the debates surrounding the Declaration of Independence. As the debates on independence took place, Benjamin Franklin proposed his revised Albany Plan of Union as the new form of government. The Iroquois' visit to Congress in 1776 was no casual affair, okay? In August of 1775, they had been invited to view the workings of the Grand Council Fire in Philadelphia. In reality, scholars have painted the Iroquois out of the historical picture that portrays the road to American independence and self-government. 300 years ago, the ideas and political systems of the Iroquois and other confederations were so appealing that William Penn would describe Indian government in complementary terms. Penn described the native confederacies of Eastern America as political societies with Sakimship inherited through the female side. Penn was also familiar with the condolence ceremony of the Iroquois, which was crucial for an understanding of their confederacy. He stated that when someone kills a woman, they pay double the wampum, since she breeds children which men cannot. After exposure to American Indian forms of government and unity, William Penn proposed a plan for a union of the colonies in America. Although it was just an outline, Penn seemed inspired by his observations of American Indian polities. All right, the influence started way back with Penn. A couple of generations later, another Pennsylvanian, Benjamin Franklin, would formulate another plan of colonial union that would more closely reflect Iroquois influences. Franklin, familiar with the ways of the Iroquois, published a series of Indian treaties. He attended a condolence ceremony in 1753, less than a year before his authorship of the Albany Plan of Union. Franklin recognized the enormous appeal of American Indian ways in 1753 as well. He wrote in 1753 that American Indian children reared in white society returned to their people when they took but one ramble with them. While discussing the attractions of American Indian society, Franklin wrote of the Great Council of Onondaga and how the Six Nations educated their men in what was the best manner. Just 9 months before the Albany Congress of 1754, Franklin attended a treaty council at Carlisle, Pennsylvania in October 1753. During this treaty with the Iroquois and the Ohio Indians, Franklin saw the rich imagery and ideas of the Iroquois at close hand. On October 1st, 1753, he watched the Oneida chief, Scarojati, and a Mohawk Kayangilegua condole the Ohio Indians for their losses against the French. Franklin listened while Scarojati spoke of the origins of the Iroquois Great Law to the Ohio Indians. We must let you know that there was friendship established by our and your grandfathers, and a mutual council fire was kindled. In this friendship, all those then under the ground, who had not obtained eyes or faces, that is, those unborn, were included, and it was then mutually promised to tell the same to their children and children's children. The following day, Franklin and the other treaty commissioners echoed earlier statements of the Iroquois when they said, "We would therefore hereby place before you the necessity of preserving your faith entire to one another, as well as to this government. Do not separate. Do not part on any score. Let no differences nor jealousies subsist a moment between nation and nation, but join together as one man." So Franklin's literally just repeating the values and the ways of the Iroquois. In replying to these remarks, Scarojaddy took for granted the knowledge that the treaty commissioners had of the structure of the Iroquois Confederacy when he requested that you will please to lay all our present transactions before the council at Onondaga, that they may know we do nothing in the dark. Thus, on the eve of the Albany Congress, Franklin had a great deal of exposure to the imagery and political ideas of the Iroquois, both from first-hand experience and from his reading of Cadwallader Colden's History of the Five Nations. At the Albany Congress the next year, the Mohawk Sakim Hendrick challenged the Americans to use Iroquois-style unity and to bring as many into this covenant chain as you possibly can. With this ammunition and his previous knowledge of the imagery and concepts of the Iroquois Great Law, Franklin met with both colonial and Iroquois delegates to create a plan of unity that was in part derived from some of the tenets of the Great Law of the Iroquois. In fact, Franklin admitted that the debates over the Albany Plan went on daily with the Indian business. During the discussions, Hendrick openly criticized the colonists and hinted that the Iroquois would not ally with the English colonies unless a suitable form of unity was established among them. Hendrick asserted on July 9, 1754 that we, which this fire, tree of friendship may grow up to a great height, and then we shall be a powerful people. James Delancey, acting governor of New York, replied to Hendrick's speech in this manner: I hope that by this present union we shall grow up to a great height, and then we shall be as powerful and famous as you were of old. The next day, Franklin formally proposed his plan of union before the Congress. It had a grand council, a speaker, and called for a general government, under which each colony may retain its present constitution. So Franklin was literally copying the Iroquois. That's what they're letting you know here. In 1943, after editing Franklin's Indian treaties, Julian P. Boyd stated that Benjamin Franklin in 1754 proposed a plan for union of the colonies, and he found his materials in the great confederacy of the Iroquois. Boyd also believed that the ability of the Iroquois to unite peoples over a large geographic expanse made their form of government worthy of copying. As Americans grew more restive under the autocracy of British rule, they turned to Native American ideas for alternatives. The Iroquois also provided the rebellious colonists with an alternative identity. During the Stamp Act crisis, the New York City Sons of Liberty, alright, we already got that drop on the previous video, who's the Sons of Liberty, sent wampum belts to the Iroquois asking them to intercept British troops moving down the Hudson to occupy New York City. Alright, so you see they were allying with the Iroquois. After this appeal, the Sons of Liberty put up a pine post called the Tree of Liberty, where they conducted their daily exercises. All right, and that's that famous elm tree where they met, the Sons of Liberty and the Loyal Nine. In 1772, the Constitutional Sons of St. Tammany. I remember that this was the same people, the Sons of Liberty. Eventually, a lot of them became Sons of St. Tammany, or switched the name, which grew out of the Sons of Liberty, all right, as it says here, claimed that they wished to preserve the constitutional American liberties. Tammany was a respected Delaware chief who American patriots sainted, all right? They had American Indian saints, all right? A lot of these Masonic orders, they made a lot of the chiefs saints, you know, just like the Catholic or Christian saints. The New York City Sons of Tammany traced their roots to the Sons of Liberty. Indeed, Benjamin Franklin was a member of the Tammany Society. Do you hear that? Benjamin Franklin was of this order, Masonic order, secret society, St. Tammany. And after his death, the society continued to tell Indian anecdotes of Franklin at its meetings. All right? Benjamin Franklin was down with these same people who dressed up like Iroquois and thumbed the T, yes. As the American Revolution drew nearer, the American colonists turned to American Indian ideas and images to assert their desire for freedom and autonomy. In 1773, the Sons of Liberty in Boston dressed as Mohawks to dump tea in Boston Harbor. Now remember that, yes, a lot of them dressed up and put coal in their face and everything to have a dark complexion, to look like Indians. But we also read that there was a number of Mohawks actually with them that went and helped them dump the tea. There was actually a lot of people that day. In August of 1775, members of the Continental Congress met with the Iroquois, all right, the Continental Congress. We're going to get into who they were. These were the presidents before Washington. I know you guys know about this stuff, but we're going to try to get more specific, try to understand why we don't know about these people, why they tell us Washington is the first president. Again, you guys can see that in August of 1775, the members of the Continental Congress met with the Iroquois and recalled Iroquois admonitions of unity and said, we have taught our children to follow it. The Americans also invited the Iroquois to visit and observe our great council fire at Philadelphia. In January of 76, George Washington introduced John Adams as a member of the Grand Council Fire at Philadelphia. In May and June of 1776, chiefs from 4 tribes of the 6 nations, all right, the Iroquois Confederacy, were at Independence Hall. In fact, the meeting with the Iroquois Sakins was so important that the Continental Congress ordered George Washington to leave his post in New York City and come to Philadelphia to review Pennsylvania troops in late May of 1776. That's how important it was to me with the Iroquois. And you know how they say, oh, the Iroquois were there, the Iroquois were there. But shout out to Top Cat, great presentation again. And you know that it was mainly Indians doing this, as the Continental Army, you know, fighting in the war and, you know, influencing, helping them, teaching them how to do a government. On June 11, 1776, during the debates on independence, and Onondaga chief gave President John Hancock the name Caranduan, or the Great Tree. All right, remember John Hancock was a Sons of Liberty member, so they're naming him a Caranduan, right? They're giving him an Indian name. This is what I want you to see, the relationship they had with the Iroquois, the Great Tree. On the same day, plans for a confederation based on Franklin's 1754 Albany Plan of Union were reported to a committee of the Continental Congress that later drafted the Articles of Confederation. Okay, these are the presidents before Washington. So based on Franklin's Albany Plan of Union, which was based on the Iroquois government, on that same day, reported to the Continental Congress, who later drafted the Articles of Confederation. This is the beginning of the U.S. democratic government. They got this from American Indians. After the Iroquois Sakins left in late June, and as Franklin's revised Albany Plan was in committee, James Wilson, delegate from Pennsylvania and future author of the first draft of the United States Constitution, argued forcefully for a confederation similar to the Iroquois League. It has to be similar like them, guys. On July 26, 1776, Wilson asserted that Indians know the striking benefits of confederation, and we have an example of it in the Union of the Six Nations. Wilson recalled his diplomatic mission to the Iroquois in 1775 when he stated that the idea of the union of the colonies struck the Iroquois forcibly last year. In essence, Wilson, a friend of Franklin, believed that a strong confederation like the Iroquois Confederacy was crucial not only to the development of the new nation, but also to the maintenance of friendly relations with the Iroquois. In 1777, the Continental Congress published propaganda using an Iroquois prophecy that emphasized the synthesis of European and Iroquois ways in North America. The pamphlet Apocalypse de Chiocoi Hecoi, Chiefs de Iroquois, from 1777, asked the French to side with the Americans and implied that America was developing a government that reflected some Iroquois ways. Using a diplomatic idiom, a news carrier bird, Teshkeleli, the pamphlet proclaimed that an Iroquois prophecy was coming to pass, and that if the French allied with the Americans, it would be a great victory for humanity. As the revolution unfolded, the Iroquois' example of strength through unity gained a powerful hold on the American people. At Valley Forge, the Continental Army staged an elaborate St. Tammany Society ceremony on April 30 and May 1st of 1778. All right, who? The Continental Army. And again, shout out to Top Cat. Who was that Continental Army? A lot of Indians.
They did what? They staged an elaborate St. Tammany Society ceremony. Washington's men marched past maypoles and clasped bundles of 13 arrows to demonstrate American unity in the style of the Iroquois. On the evening of May 1st, 1778, the officers had a song and dance in honor of King Tammany. After the American Revolution, 3 Virginia politicians and future presidents, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, and James Monroe, decided to visit the Iroquois. The so-called black founding fathers visited the Iroquois. The first to go was James Madison in 1784, observing that Virginia and other states were unwilling to give powers to a central government. Madison decided to accompany the Marquis de Lafayette and his entourage on a trip to Iroquois country. The trip was to Fort Stanwix near Rome, New York. What Madison witnessed was startling. Ostensibly, Western expansion was Madison's main concern for the trip. Also, he must have been thinking about a government that would unite diverse peoples across a great geographic area when he thought of westward expansion. Perhaps this is the reason he consulted with his old friend Grasshopper and Oneida Sakim when he got to Iroquois country. These remarkable experiences had an impact on Madison as he was seeking to forge a new government in the next few years. While at Fort Stanwix, Madison renewed his friendship with the Oneida Sakim, Grasshopper, who had visited Philadelphia several years earlier. Madison was exposed firsthand to the ideas and political concepts of the Iroquois. Although Thomas Jefferson had wanted to visit the Iroquois with James Monroe in 1784, his appointment as French ambassador forced him to abandon his plans to go to Iroquois country. However, James Monroe did go without Jefferson. Jefferson was very emphatic about his lifelong interest in American Indians. In a letter to John Adams, Jefferson pointed out that as a child and as a student, he was in continual contact with Native Americans. He explained this contact in these terms. Concerning Indians, in the early part of my life, I was very familiar and acquired impressions of attachment and commiseration for them which have never been obliterated. Before the Revolution, they were in the habit of coming often in great numbers to the seat of government, where I was very much with them. Emphasis added, I knew much the great Ontaset, the warrior and orator of the Cherokees. He was always the guest of my father on his journeys to and from Williamsburg. John Adams responded to Jefferson's experiences with American Indians in this manner. I have also felt an interest in the Indians and a commiseration for them with my childhood. Aaron Pomham and Moses Pomham of the Hunkapang and Neponset tribes were frequent visitors of my father's house, and I, in my boyish rambles, used to call at their wigwam. Real quick, in the journal article, the Iroquois League, the Articles of Confederation, and the Constitution by Samuel B. Payne Jr. This is from the William and Mary Quarterly, Volume 53, Number 3, Indians and Others in Early America, pages 605 to 620. It says here, the standard works of the United States Constitution and the Articles of Confederation do not credit the American Indians with having contributed to their origins. Indians are absent as intellectual influences, right? So they're saying how they don't, give them the right credit. From such sources as Gordon S. Wood's The Creation of the American Republic and The Radicalism of the American Revolution, Bernard Bailyn's The Ideological Origins of the American Revolution, Samuel H. Beer's To Make a Nation, and Jack N. Revolke's The Beginning of National Politics, to cite a few distinguished and representative examples. All right, so these are all like popular mainstream books on the origin of the Constitution and American democracy and all that, and they leave out, they never credited the Iroquois, is what they're pointing out here. Instead, these works describe the political ideas of 18th century British American leaders and thinkers as creative adaptations of the European intellectual heritage to American conditions. The intellectual roots of the Constitution and the Articles of Confederation lay, the mainstream authors assert, in Europe. All right, so they're saying all that came from Europeans. In Great Britain, above all, in continental Europe to a considerable extent,
and in ancient Rome and Greece to a much lesser extent. So they're saying that goes back to Rome, huh? The Magna Carta, huh? We're going to get into that, all right, as we keep learning, right, on this journey. What's the Magna Carta? Is it similar to the Great Law of Peace? Who were the ancient Romans? In contradiction to the mainstream is a revisionist school that gives much of the credit to the American Indians, right? On the other hand, there's much documentary evidence, as we just read. The revisionists believe that the Iroquois Indians, the forgotten founders, as Bruce E. Johansen terms them, significantly influenced the joining together of the 13 colonies in 1776, the writing of the Articles of Confederation, and the construction of a federal system of government in 1787 and 1788. Although the Iroquois influence thesis lacks the persuasive power of the mainstream European influence thesis, it has been widely propagated and for that reason alone deserves serious critical examination. Lewis Henry Morgan, who made the first comprehensive study of the Iroquois politics and society, may also have been the first proponent of the Iroquois influence thesis. In 1881 he wrote, "It is worthy of remembrance that the Iroquois commended to our forefathers a union of the colonies similar to their own as early as 1755. Subsequent scholars developed and promoted this thesis, among them J.N.B. Hewitt, Felix X. Cohen, Donald A. Grind Jr., Johansen, Jack Weatherford, Orrin Lyons, John C. Mohawk, and Robert W. Venables. Charles Stewart Goodwin describes the Iroquois Confederacy as one of the three sources of inspiration for his proposed remodeling of the American system of government. The Iroquois influence thesis has been espoused by an American fraternal organization, the Imperial Order of the Red Men." All right? You understand why we learned about them first? Do you understand where we're going with this? All right? These are secret societies. These are Masonic orders, and they know what's up. They know America's the true old world, right? We read their books letting us know this is the true old world, the true Egypt. They know. They copied the ancient ones. Who? The Imperial Order of Red Men, and is preserved to this day as an oral tradition among the Iroquois themselves. In the last few years, the Iroquois influence thesis has shown signs of being accepted as a new orthodoxy in some quarters. Alvin M. Josephy Jr.'s 500 Nations, a well-received book written for a general audience, gives the Iroquois credit for having influenced the development of the Constitution. A recent curriculum guide for 11th grade history classes in New York State Public Schools prescribes the study of the Iroquois political system as one of the three foundations of the United States Constitution. In October 1988, the United States Congress passed a concurrent resolution asserting that the confederation of the original 13 colonies into one republic was influenced by the political system developed by the Iroquois Confederacy. As for many of the democratic principles which were incorporated into the Constitution itself. On the other hand, the Iroquois influence thesis is not yet universally accepted, even in the forms otherwise sympathetic to revisionist theses about American history. It's going to show you Indians ain't savage. It's going to show you who's the real founding fathers. It's all about American Indians really fighting for their revolution. It does not appear, for example, in the National Standard for United States History, Exploring the American Experience, issued by the National Center for History in the schools, right? They don't teach you this in schools. They don't emphasize it. The leading advocates of the thesis see Indian influence in many aspects of the United States system of government: life, liberty, and happiness, Declaration of Independence, government by reason and consent rather than coercion, Albany Plan and Articles of Confederation, right? That was based on the Iroquois, right? The Albany Plan is what Benjamin Franklin, wrote and gave a speech on and, proposed, and that was based on the Iroquois. That's what helped draft the Articles of Confederation. Religious tolerance and ultimately religious acceptance instead of a state church, checks and balances, federalism, United States Constitution, and relative equality of property, equal rights before the law, and the thorny problem of creating a government that can rule equitably across a broad geographic expanse. Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution, Native America had a substantial role in shaping all these ideas, okay? Other authors credit the Iroquois with having inspired female suffrage. The impeachment of government officials, and Congress employment of conference committees. The heart of the argument, where the documented record has the greatest claims to strength, concerns Indian influence on the joining together, first of the colonies under the Articles of Confederation, then of the states under the Federal Constitution. Accordingly, the present essay focuses on these topics, that is to say, on the formation of the American Union. It concentrates on writings of Donald Grind and Bruce Johansen, right? The creation of the American Union by who? By the American Indians, or the values or ideas of American Indians. So again, it concentrates on the writings of Donald Grind and Bruce Johansen, who have made the most detailed and authoritative statements of the Iroquois influence thesis. It summarizes their argument and examines the evidence and concludes that their position is unfounded. All right, make sure to read the books from Donald Grind and Bruce Johansen for all the proof. They got it from the Iroquois, all right, the Constitution, there's no doubt. Grind and Johansen maintain that the Iroquois influenced the formation of the American Union in two ways. The first was through the advice and ideas that Iroquois spokesmen conveyed directly to the authors of the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution. The second was through the force of example exerted by Iroquois political practices that American leaders observed and used as models in devising a new system of government. In evaluating the latter argument, it is important to distinguish among three images of the Iroquois. The Iroquois as they actually were in the 17th and 18th century, the Iroquois as the authors of the Articles of Confederation and the framers of the Constitution understood them to be in the late 18th century. All right, the true authors of the Articles of Confederation. Proponents of the thesis describe the Iroquois as constituting in the 17th and 18th centuries a powerful confederacy, the Iroquois League, comprising 5, later 6 nations. In the words of Grind and Johansen, each of the 5 nations maintained its own council, whose Sakims were nominated by the clan mothers of families holding hereditary rights to office titles. The clan mothers could remove a Sakim from office. There was also a Grand Council, made up of the 50 Sakims who led the 5 nations and other leaders chosen by the council itself, that met once a year to keep the peace among the Iroquois and to negotiate agreements with.
All right, everybody, we come to the close of the broadcast, and I'm going to look over the stuff and see how it comes out and determine whether or not we're going to edit it or put it up on YouTube or whatever we're going to do. But anyway, I've been your host, Tarhaka LB, and you all have a good night and peace.